What up, Redacted? It's your boy Raz here to walk you through the second half of Phase 3. Hopefully we get a kill tonight, hoping this video helps us go through it. Pulled a lot of clips from Max from the VOD that we watched last night, but this is just really hyper-focused on the seed drops and the second half of seed dropping. Seeds 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then the boss dying, as well as a few tips I picked up through it. We have range POV, melee POV, and some tips. So we'll just watch the first one here, and we'll just go through them all. All right, here we go.
Used to it. Squirt gets a seed, so he's going to put it to the right of the group so the range can move right into it, but importantly, not giving them a debuff from standing within the circle, right? So the boss tanks, you always pull it through. I'll let you watch that one more time. Do you see how the tanks pull the boss through one seed into the other, so it's easy to hit the boss and soak both? Just make sure you guys are doing that every time. Used to it. Squirt gets a seed.
All right, that one's pretty self-explanatory, just how we can maximize some melee uptime while still maximizing soak efficiency. Max does a great job explaining that, don't need to go into that much. That was the first seed, so pretty straightforward there. We're good at the first seeds. This is seed 3 from the range POV, explained by Max.
Like farther to the right than the range, and the rest of the range are just going to dodge right here and just dodge the massacre. And the melee stayed close, and then the melee with the seed stayed close, and the melee group goes far. So like,
okay, so that one is the range POV. We pretty much do that pretty well as it is. The range no to go far. We have markers down. I think there's a square marker where my mouse is right now. We've gotten pretty good at where that needs to go. So we'll go ahead and move forward from that one, and we'll watch it from the melee POV.
it baits, and how this works is it baits, and in the melee who gets this seed, there will be at least one of you. You guys, that person will go close, and everyone else goes super, super far here. So see when everyone runs past that seed with the boss? That's correct. And then you guys just cycle into these new soaks. That was a weird one. That was a really, really poorly... Do you see how bad those seeds were instead of being together? See how spread out they are? That's like, you do not want to do that. The range really fucked the melee here, but apparently we still kill it, so... I guess they moved over there and soaked it because they're all going to get knocked into the red shit, but somehow they don't die.
So yeah, no, he does a pretty good job of explaining how melee is supposed to do that seed. Again, we've been doing really well with that, but basically the melee that gets the seed just tries to stay at the apex of the triangle. Here-ish. Let's see if we can get it good enough. So just the apex of the triangle, and then everyone else runs all the way through. Again, we've been doing a great job. I think the biggest thing that's different for us versus them is where they put the
So see when everyone
boss,
runs past...
I'm clicking on the wrong spot. Where they put the boss after, or like during the massacre, where they pull the boss to. So you can see even with massacre going on, very close to the edge here, and very close to where the two seed soaks are. Reason being is that those seeds need to get soaked super quick, and you can see it from our point of view here for comparison here. Seeds go all the way to square. If you don't have a seed, you're just on the edge. So you can see the two seed people go through really well there.
Cow, you only go all the way over there.
Cow, yeah, well, Shatter says it, but you can see Cow, you also are running too far. So you shouldn't be running all the way over there. None of the range should. You should be using the outline of the Fatal, or the Ravage, and hugging that as best you can. Basically what I'm doing there is what the rest of the range should be doing, so that gives maximum room and space for the other two range that have the seeds to drop them cleanly. Soak. And let me soak here. So the other point I was trying to make was that you see where the boss gets dragged to during Massacre is actually pretty good on this one. So you can see the boss is getting dragged towards Diamond, which is good. That is where it should be getting dragged. But if you can cheat a little extra space, getting it closer to the edge.
Go all the way over there if you have a seed.
Just a little bit quicker, so that the soaks start happening as soon as the massacre ends. Because we do take an explosion, you can see the explosion damage happens there at the end of that pull. So third seed's definitely the hardest for the range. Pretty easy for the melee, but all about maximizing the uptime and getting to those soaks as fast as possible. Now, moving to the fourth soaks.
He will, if he's this low and he has a seed dot, he will have he'll probably Astral Shift here, I think, if he's smart. Yeah, he does. I might die without that. Don't know if he has Earth Ellie or not. Okay, so in the same thing, the ranged here, you actually put him near the middle. I just want you guys to see it once. I know we'll go over this again once we see through the phase, but I just want to keep going with it. So it's the same concept. You just put it to the right of each group. You cycle over. It's another quick knockback. And then honestly, the fight gets easy from here on out. This is like the easiest, in my opinion, the hardest part of the fight. The phase is over. If he's this low and he...
There you go. I heard it from Max himself. For that is super easy placement. I really wanted to highlight the beginning where he talks about the people with a seed dot and that blood price. Blood price does so much fucking damage. That's going to be, if you have the debuff especially, that's going to be the spot where you want to make sure that you have Hellstone or a personal rolling, and he actually points out this person has the buff. You should be using a personal here or he might die, so make sure you're doing that. We're going to do it from my perspective real quick for us. So you can see what we end up doing.
Yours on circle, melee you're dropping yours on diamond.
So we actually place ours really well here. But we do lose Kelwick there, it looks like. But you can see our placement's perfect compared to what they just did, right? And then we get into spot really well.
It's fine, go.
And then we keep going. That's really it.
Alright, ranger dropping.
And then we can see theirs from the melee point of view.
Just place another seed. Squirt
easy.
gets it again. He puts it to the left of the range, then to the right of where the melee are. Good POV to pick. And then they do one quick soak and also a quick knockback, and then becomes the hard part of the phase for you all.
Right, and that's where he emphasizes that now the 5th seed is the hard one for melee. So 4th one, super straightforward, super easy, just making sure that you're getting yourself topped before the blood price comes out, because that shit does a lot of damage. Actually, if you see, I have this weak aura here. This is part of the package of the annoying weak aura that hasn't worked at all for us with the symbols. But if you want this weak aura, so that shows how much damage you'll take from the blood price and the knockback, so you know if you'll die or not, feel free to hit me up. And then we get into the 5th one, and this is the one where we do the knockback prevention and everything. So I'll just let Max talk here. He talks pretty well about what we should be doing to prevent knockbacks and why.
This is rough. I actually have to look at our comp and see who can immune it and who can't. Death Knight's just Death Advance it. That makes this a joke. The Paladin will bubble himself. Our Paladin will bubble himself. Mange will block it. Who else is down there? It's Zappy Boy and... Okay, so everyone's here. Protzy will spell reflect it so he doesn't get knocked back. Graze can leap it. Although, what we can do, we can opt to do two different things. Number one, if a shaman has Onk, we can bop the tank during that combo just so you don't have
a
to
shaman down there, so
whoever the tank is. We can just bop you after it already picks you. So you also get bopped for the massacre. Or we could bop one of the two shamans based on who.
Let me rewind
bop one for the massacre. Or we could bop one of the two shamans based on whoever does or doesn't have Onk up.
Basically, what he's saying is that you can bop a tank so that he doesn't get hit hard by the Shattering Pain knockback, and also doesn't have to do the knockback. So whichever tank is tanking there, we should consider bopping if we have it up, and then it just completely negates all the damage coming out during that spot. Just make sure that whichever tank does have bop there, that they have a cancel aura macro for removing bop.
I will just live it on my own. I'll just have to place
And
a
then
Transcendence, and as soon as I get knocked
about the ideal thing for rogues there is not to shadow step, but use
I
cloak.
just instantly transcend back to my spot.
And this is minute what you should
And
be
then
doing.
the rogue, you cloak the knockback, and everyone else is safe. So that's how we deal with that. We're basically in a shitty spot. Let me let you watch it.
Alright, so that is him going through the knockbacks there, and then here it is it in action.
All you have to do, this will be the hardest part of the fight for melee. All you have to do is move over and dodge Massacre and soak in this spot. And then he just transcends out of it. Just like that. But everyone else just got, basically the DK's immuned it. The shaman just lived it on his own somehow. No, the shaman got bopped, and then the tanks lived on their own. That's all. We're probably going to bop a shaman, by the way, and not a tank.
We're not going to bop a shaman. We are going to bop a tank.
And then you just pull it through, and then we don't need to see the rest of it, right? It's just a repeat in the small part of the room. This part of the fight, if you make it to this part of the fight with everyone alive, you might kill it like first time. It's just specifically for melee, I promise you, we're going to have a lot of progression. This will be the...
So you heard that, man. If we get there with 20 people alive, we can kill the boss. That's it, right? So that was the 5th set of seeds from melee POV. So just go ahead and watch back, scroll back to see where they drop it. We actually did a pretty good job. We'll get to our POV here soon.
Just that, so you can take it at the right time.
Pretty easy from a range
I'll
perspective.
call this right now how I would call it at the time. Melee, I'll go over separately how you guys deal with this, but ranged, you guys will just take the gate in 3, 2, 1 right now. Okay, everyone gates over.
So you can see they actually did roar and gate just to make it a little bit easier.
Dodge massacres, and there's going to be a
So if we have roar
knockback
there,
right here,
Cow,
and
that
you
would be
will
where
get
you
knocked
use
into
it.
the red, but that's fine. If you have immunities like Turtle here, that's exactly what you'd want to hit. You're gonna get knocked back in 3, 2, 1. If you guys ever see Ravage, or Massacre, you never want to dodge in front of it. You always want to dodge behind it. The reason being is there's a timing where if you get the knockback from the boss, it'll knock you into a Massacre hitting and you'll die. But if you go behind, it's never a problem. So they go behind, get hit into the red, move out, and then the seeds just place to the right like we have been. Everyone cycles. Gate down.
Alright, so that is pretty easy. If you can cancel a knockback there as range, go for it. If not, you can just ride it. It's fine. And then we'll watch it from our perspective and how we did. And we actually did really well on this.
Now,
For
take
the
it
amount
now.
of people that we had alive.
Alright, this
Gateway.
is prevent knockbacks.
You can see though, people were late taking the gateway, so this is why I've been talking the entire time. At the very least, have a mouse over, interact with mouse over keybind. But if you can, have a set focus to mouse over target, and that's, you can see my focus target there. So you watch my mouse
Now,
on the
take
screen.
it now.
And then I just click there and use mine, and then I take it without having to worry about it because it is very tight timing. So that's why I've been stressing it this entire time.
Alright, this is
And if we have people coming late, you just die to Massacre potentially.
knockbacks.
I died to Massacre because somebody.
Ranger dropping your seeds along the Ravage that's there to the right.
So Cow and Zeit did a really good job of dropping their seeds there.
And then you rotate around.
Unfortunately, they both died, but that's because we were just down healers. We only had beach up.
Token by triangle.
And then Melee dropped their seed in the perfect spot too. So I don't know if we got lucky because that was our first time really getting to that spot. That people that knew where they should be going got the seeds or not, but we need to make sure that every time we get to this spot, that's the hardest set of seeds. We need to set the seeds in the right spot. We need to cancel the knockbacks best we can. We need to make sure we don't die. Pretty much, we get past that spot, 20 people alive, the boss dies. He should also be lower, but that's okay. So that's 5th seed, that's the last set, and then we'll just watch the last two just for rounding it all out. It's pretty straightforward.
Spirit links, I opt usually to pre-spirit link this just for the 10%
Also good tip.
DR. It's snapshots if you're in the spirit link when it's down. We can talk about how the melee group will deal with that. This pull, by the way, ranged got double seed every time. That's pretty common. For whatever reason, it goes on melee a lot less. Probably because that phase has 2 tanks in it and tanks can't be picked, and I think healers are lesser priority. And then after this, you just move in and you place these seeds and you burn the boss and you ignore everything else. And that's the whole phase. Does anyone have... I know it's a lot at one time. I just wanted you to... Links, I opt...
Alright, so that is the end of the fight. And then one last tip of if you are the person that drops the seed, don't soak a new seed because you're going to get there by the time it's already fully soaked anyway, so don't stress on doing that positioning to get caught up to the group. You might accidentally neutralize somebody, and also you're just going to take unnecessary damage. And here's Max explaining that. Yeah.
The only thing with soaking seeds that might be important is sometimes you... if you just got the seed dot from placing a seed, if you're low, to not soak the new seed. Because in most scenarios, you'll soak the new seed anyway, and the only person at risk of dying is the person who just dropped one, because it's a huge hit and it's a big dot.
All right.
The only thing with...
So that really sums up how we should be positioning for all the seeds. Hopefully, Melee, I know that wasn't the best POV for the 5th set of seeds, but he does a good job of explaining that spot. And if we can find a different POV, we can link that and walk through that together. But I appreciate you guys watching this. If we all watch this and actually paid attention, we can always consult back to this video and specific timestamps throughout the raid night tonight to kind of talk through seed drop positioning together. But on the one pool that we did manage to make it to the end, pretty much all the seed drops were perfect. Except maybe the 6th one, but that was just due to, I think, mostly panic and just being a little rushed and a lot of people being dead. But overall, super good pull there, and we're going to have great pulls tonight. Let's fucking go.